Hi guys, Cameron here and welcome to another video. This is a video a long time in the making and something that's going to be a bit higgledy-piggledy. I, in January, it is now April, went to a tournament which was Fantasy Fellowship based. We had to take our own models, create our own Fantasy Fellowship and all this sort of stuff, and you could take kind of any model that you wanted. Few were banned, you couldn't have monsters more than strength, whatever it was, and only one monster in the army, yada yada yada. 9 models, you got to pick what they were. You could have good or evil. So that's exactly what I did. I took an evil list with me, and this video is going to be kind of a combine of a vlog of the tournament, talking about my games each time, a couple of interviews with the people who I played, and then the second half of this is going to be the kind of showing off of my army, along with kind of a update on my hobby. It's something that I haven't done recently. I've normally done monthly vlogs on what I've painted, but actually I haven't been doing that because I haven't been painting much. I am now back on YouTube as much as I can be, as you'll have seen from streaming and videos being uploaded. I can now do stuff. I've got a little bit more time in my hands, so it's real nice, quite frankly. So yeah, to start off with, I took 9 models, and they are all from my Shadow of Mordor themed army. So you'll get videos of these on turntables and me talking about them. We had Talion, Kellmore as my leader. We then had Bruise, you know, they're big. Tell you what, let's see if I can get a little bit better light on. Bruise, that's so much better. Oh, absolutely fantastic. Fuck's sake, Kevin. Don't even bother. My big troll, he was Burhadr, or however you pronounce it. Talion, who was my Witch King because he can come back from the dead. And then Baranor, he was Nazug, Yaznig, something, I don't know, there was a couple of them. One of my favourite ones is the Ghoul, Ted Sandyman. You know, it's exactly what you need. I had a Hunter Orc, which was somebody, I can't remember. This will all be done and covered properly at the end. The only one that represented himself was Gollum, but it was Gollum from the 1980s that I took the model. And then we had Azog and War Commander, whatever it was, number 12. That number changed. The whole idea was that things were themed to Shadow of Mordor, Shadow of War. So if it show up in one of those games, then I made the model and I think it a lot of proxying. I took a whole kind of codex almost with this model is this model and then the stats, so my opponents could see who was what. It was completely agreed upon with the tournament organizer beforehand, and I'd sent them photos of everything and all that sort of stuff. If you look on my Instagram, you'll see a bunch of them. I don't think I've posted them all, so probably should get round to doing that at some point. But yeah, you'll see all of my models, you'll hear me talking about the tournament and all this sort of stuff. So first half gonna be me talking about my games and all that sort of stuff. Some, like I say, with my opponents, with kind of almost interview styles, joking around, and then there's going to be B-roll footage of my games going on during them. Second half, I will do turntable stuff and talk about these models and kind of what my plans are for the Barad-dûr army list, which is going to be Shadow of Mordor, Shadow of War. And then at the very end, to go along with my benchies, hobbies, Middle-earth profile video from last week, or last, it might not be a week, who knows, I might not get this done, hopefully it's a week. I painted Ratbag, this guy. Obviously Ranger was painted a while ago, but I painted Ratbag, so I'll get this shown at the very end. So sit back, relax, get some painting, don't actually watch this video, and just hear me ramble. I'll see you soon. So that is the end of game 1. We have played 2 rounds of it. I have lost both. My opponent Jack unfortunately didn't show up, so I got a stand-in, which was Finley, who won the last tournament I was at, which is not going to go well. I was captive first with Ted Sandyman, who managed to move about 4 inches the whole game, and then I just got absolutely hammered with everything. It was pretty brutal. It was a real good fun game. I broke. I didn't manage to release my captive or anything. Luckily enough, the Necromancer's still alive, so it was only a 1-0 victory to Finley. We re-racked. Finley was then the captive and the attacker, so I was defending, and this game went worse. Luckily enough, his captive didn't manage to move at all, so I was a little bit happier about that. However, I was then broken and my leader was killed, so it was just a bit of a screw up for me. I managed to fail 9 of the Necromancer's fate rolls, or will rolls, against Nori, 9 of them. I didn't even roll a 3, so I couldn't might it up to a 4 to survive, and it was on number 10. I spent 2 might points, if I remember correctly, to actually put them up, and it was just a bit of a oh shit moment. So it is what it is. I broke, I failed, and overall it ended up in a 3-0 loss to me. So first 2 games I've lost, and it's actually not too bad a thing because I really enjoyed it. It was good fun, really nice opponent, everything was absolutely fantastic, but we'll see how it goes for game 2. Right, Darren, I've just played you in game 2, which was Sea Surprise. Rundown of the game, I managed to get the prize with a random Orc Captain number 325. I passed it off to Ted Sandyman, and then you brutalised Bruise. No, you brutalised Bruise. You mobilised them, put in Dwalin and Gloin. You then heroic combated off of him in 1 turn into Ted Sandyman and just killed him.
Yeah, took the prize.
Took the prize with Gloin off the table. What else happened?
Dwalin then tied up the Necromancer.
Yeah, Dwalin tied up the Necromancer. You did Protection of Valor quite good.
Yeah.
So it meant that I couldn't kill Dwalin instantly.
And it saved me from your Azog, because
yep,
he's a brute.
That's true, because Azog, although you didn't kill Azog, you took his fate, but you didn't kill him.
You killed Bilbo.
Azog killed Bilbo, yep.
Makes sense.
And then kind of you broke me, you got the prize, so it ended on a 10-0 victory to you. You didn't win, well, you got the Necromancer down to, I think it was 14 will.
Which is pretty decent, because he has 25.
Yeah, out of 25. But luckily enough, it wasn't anything too bad. Then... yeah, I didn't manage to kill Gandalf. I didn't manage to do anything to Gandalf.
No, you almost did at the end if I decided to keep him into that fight, man.
Yeah, because you questioned whether you were going to put him into the
final combat.
The Necromancer, into Kellmore, or whatever. Yeah, Kellmore.
Yeah.
Just to do it, but you didn't. Gollum at one point had him, but you took pity on him and you didn't kill Gollum.
Yeah. But Bilbo didn't get the same fate from Azog.
Azog just munched him.
I was
totally
like, you're the sacrificial lamb for this team.
Which, to be fair, is the best lamb that you had. But yeah, overall, thank you very much for the game.
Thank you for the game.
And we'll go on to game 3. So we had Capture and Control as game number 4, or game number 3, sorry. It was a weird one. My Necromancer went in, the Ringwraith then went in, or the Witch King, and then we just put our heavy hitters in front of everyone, and it was on a bridge with a load of water features, which we decided was shallow waters. Farmer Maggot was over to the other side, and we just started duking it out. Eventually Bruce was immobilised, transfixed, and he died very quickly. Ted Sandyman was killed at points, and it just kind of went all off, and it was enjoyable, but hard fought. I ended up losing, and that now means that I'm going down onto the bottom table to fight Henry, actually, one of my teammates. So it's really, really good. It was a great game, but in the grand scheme of things, nothing happened. But it's one of these things. On to game number 5, 4, whatever it is. Right, so Henry, I've just played you. It was Hold Ground. We both decided that we were going to have our warbands as individual models.
Because it's the more fun way to play.
9 models coming on as individual warbands. It was weird. And to start off with, we essentially just started to mirror match each other.
We pretty much chose where each other's models would go for, I think, all of them. And
the fact that we had multiples of the same models, like you had a Golem, I had a Golem, both had Necromancers, both had Witch Kings. It was very similar kind of profiles that we just decided to mirror match off each other. I managed to not bring 3 guys in. I think you struggled to bring 1 in.
Kardish didn't come in on the first turn.
Yeah.
Came in straight away on the second.
I was going to say, second turn, we both got everyone in, and then we just started munching each other.
Yeah.
You had a lot of not Necromancers, you had a lot of the Ring Wraiths, so they struggled to come in. Oh, sorry, they struggled to die and stay
I just
dead.
kept bringing them back.
At the end of the game, though, 2 of them were dead.
Yes.
But only because it finished.
Yeah, because you can't, I think every game I've played this tournament, I've lost on the fact that they've been dead on the last turn, and then they count as dead for the purposes of winning and losing, so that's been pretty brutal.
Other than that, though, I killed Golem and Kardish, which were the only 2 ones that can't come back.
Yeah.
And I took your Necromancer down by some
he was on 18 will at the end.
Whereas mine was on 11, if I remember correctly. My Witch King was still alive, but you killed Ted Sandyman, Golem, and... Oh, you killed someone else.
The guy with the bow.
Oh, Baranor, which is
Baranor,
Yazneg or whatever his name is. Nazuk, I can't remember which. But no, it then kind of came down to... Well, it came down to the final turn. Time had effectively been called, and it was a 5-0 victory to myself because I had more models in the centre than you did.
I had 2 in the centre. You had 4. If I had an extra inch of movement on 3 models, I would have had 5 in the centre.
Which then would have swung the game completely, and you would have won 3-0.
Yeah. I spent too long trying to hold up your Witch King.
Yes.
And overcommitted to that, which I think made a big difference.
However, it does mean you're still in the running for the spoon.
It does, which, look, I'm very proud of.
Well, thank you very much, Henry, for the game, and we are going to go on to game number, I think, 5 now?
Yep.
Right, okay, on to game number 5, jeez. So, the last game of the day, game 5, Assassination. I was down in the bottom of the tables, as, is expected, and came up against kind of a fellowship of sorts. Gandalf the White, Aragorn, King Elsar, Merry Pippin, and it was just a kind of slogfest for me. There was a lot of problems. It was Assassination, so I chose to use Azog as my assassin and Eowyn as my target, and then I had who was it? Gollum was to be assassinated, and by Legolas, which managed to be achieved, so I won a spot prize, luckily enough, but it did mean that it was going downhill from that point, because Gollum just got shot off the board. Lots and lots of fighting, strikes, combats, the Necromancer failed quite a few of his Will to Fate rolls. I think it was 8 that he failed in 1 turn, so he went from and plus the combat, so it was something he went from 10 down to 1 will, or 11 down to 1 will, whatever it was, and then it just meant, well, that means next turn he's going to die, so he was calling combats, he was trying to add might to his dice rolls, all this sort of stuff, and it just didn't go particularly well. In the space of about 2 turns, my army just crumbled. In the end, it was only the Witch King of Dol Guldur that was left. We continued playing, he resurrected, he came back, and then it was kind of no, we don't care, because it was just going on and on and on. And the only thing that I could have scored points for was killing Aragorn in the grand scheme of things, which, yes, could have happened over the course of a wee while, but I wasn't planning on fighting it out, and time was going to be called in a couple of minutes. So we just called it quits, and it became a 12-0 loss for me. So I have managed to win 1 out of 5, 6 games, whatever it was, in the whole tournament. And yeah, it is what it is. So let's see about prizes. Who wins what? Then in come to the actual prizes, and luckily enough, the team won.
And I'll start off with the spoon prize, which goes to Henry Hunt.
So after Henry actually winning the spoon, awfully happy that a teammate has managed to win that. The tournament rewards, or should I say trophies, continued on, and there was multiple different prizes going on. Obviously first, second, third. There was best themed, luckily enough, at this wedding, best painted, and they were all well deserved. Oh, and most sporting, of course, I should say that. They were all very well deserved. You cannot complain about any of these prizes going out. It was a fantastic tournament, and overall it was very good, and I've got to say thank you to Fraser. But with that thanks to Fraser, there's not much more for me to say in this other than just thank you to all my opponents, thank you to absolutely everyone that I played and everyone who helped me today. It was really, really good, really, really appreciated. Right then, so there you go, you have now seen my tournament vlog. I said I won a Gandalf the White, so I'm going to, as a spot prize, I'm going to put him up into the turntable so you can see him. He'll be, I don't know, something will happen with him. I'll take him to a tournament, possibly the next one Fraser runs. But what I'll do now is I'll put all these guys on my turntable and just chat about them and kind of the hobby that went into them and what I did. I haven't done that in a while. I miss doing my hobby vlogs. And these guys have been on my table for God knows how long, waiting for me to do this. So what I'll do is I'll literally just turn the camera around and show you all these models. There's going to be two that I won't show off, and that's Gandalf and it's not Gandalf, sorry, that's Golem and the Hunter Orc. I didn't paint them this month or any month recently. They were painted a long while ago, so they won't be included. And like I say, at the very end, I'll include Ratbag and Ranger, obviously, because they were painted recently. So let me set all that up, flip it around. It'll be milliseconds for you, but it'll be, I don't know, probably be tomorrow for me by the time I get round to it. So I'll be back soon. See ya. Well, here we go then. This is my Talion / Kellmore conversion. So this was used as Kellmore in my fantasy fellowship for this tournament, but overall he will be used as the Sauron profile for my Barad-dûr list. So this model is an Age of Sigmar converted model. I've attached bows, arrows, and I think it's a Númenórean hand to him for the broken sword, and then it is an Airmere head from the new plastic kit. It's then on a generation shift. In fact, no, this one isn't a generation shift base, I don't think. This is one of the ones that came with... No, because I did put it on a generation shift base, sorry, yes. But it's the converted base from the original model. So, great model. I really enjoyed building it. And this is kind of showing the Wraith and the Ranger part of Talion and Kellmore combined, which I thought was a real cool thing. And then, yeah, obviously he's leading my army, so who else leads an army in Barad-dûr apart from the big man himself, Sauron? So when I'm doing my Barad-dûr list, this guy will be proxied as Sauron. But let's go over onto the next one. Here we go then. So this is just Talion himself, and I use this guy as the Ringwraith, the Witch King himself, purely because he'd come back from the dead, and that was kind of a cool thematic thing that I thought for the story of Shadow of War, Shadow of Mordor, and then coming back in games for Fantasy Fellowship. I thought that was quite nice. So yeah, this is a 3D print from Ancient City Games, if I remember correctly. Might not be them. It's been a long time since I bought this print. Very happy with it. It looks absolutely phenomenal. It wasn't the best painted. I did it in a bit of a rush. The White Tree of Gondor and his chest is a little bit dodgy, but that's literally my fault. It's not the sculpt. So yeah, this guy was great fun to paint up, and again put on a generation shift basis. All my Barad-dûr stuff will be. What am I going to use this guy in a Barad-dûr list? I don't know if I'm going to. I think this might just be a model that I painted up for a bit of fun. I might use him as a ring wraith, but I doubt it. It's just not what I'm wanting from the list. So we'll see if he ever actually makes it into the list or not. And then we have Bruise. Bruise is a character introduced in the Shadow of War game rather than the Shadow of Mordor. He's your sidekick for a good while, and then he, spoiler alert, he betrays you. So you go round, hunt him down, and you can actually bring him back into your army. So the blue eyes, the glowing effects is exactly that. You've got the blue hand on his back. But this was a model that I converted from a Dandelion's catapult troll, actually scaled it down, 3D printed it, and then converted it. So he was used as Burherder, however you pronounce that, and yeah, it worked real well. Phenomenal sculpt. There's I think it's a Rohan horse's tail is used as his head. There's half a war drum used as his shoulder pad. That's a Mordor troll's sword, if I remember correctly. And then a lot of 3D sculpting. A lot of green stuff sculpting on top of the 3D print. There we go. If I could get my words right, that would be great. Painted up using contrast and then dry brushed for the skin tone just to try and get it. And then put on that generation shift base. Really lovely model to paint just in general. I love the catapult troll. I'm going to use that for multiple things. And actually you'll see that later on in the video again. But yeah, great model. Used him as Burherder. He did not do well for me, unfortunately, realistically. But hey ho, it is one of these things. I love the model. We then come into this model. Now, this is Azog. Or obviously it's not Azog, but it's the model that I used as my Azog profile. Now, this is just a normal Mordor orc, which had lying around because he was broken, and I just put a bunch of stuff on him, painted him white-skinned, and then called him Azog for my Fantasy Fellowship. Now, I own Azog already. I own quite a few copies of him, as you'll be able to see from the army showcases that I've put out, but I wanted to convert and use models that you wouldn't normally see in terms of they didn't look like their profiles. So gave him this, made him like this, glued some good bad stuff on. I think that's an Iron Hills axe above his head, and then I obviously did the blue eyes like he had been branded by Talion and Kellmore. So that's the whole point, is if you see an orc with blue eyes, they are part of your army, and that's how you're then using them. So yeah, this guy did real well, as Azog normally does. I mean, fight 7 and burly and all this sort of, is he burly? I can't remember, but yeah, it was great. I really enjoyed using him. Always enjoy using Azog, as I think you all know now from the amount of times that I talk about him. He's great. I enjoyed painting this guy. Everyone knew who he was because of that white skin, so it was real good. And he now fits into my army as a captain for my actual Barad-dûr list. So yeah, it's great. And this one is Orc Captain number 364, or number 36, or number 24, or whoever. This guy was expendable, quite simply. He is again another orc that I had lying around because it was broken, and I put some Gundabad bits on him from the upgrade kit. And obviously he's got the blue glowing eyes because he is branded by Talion. He's got that blue hand on his shield, which was done, and it was a good model. I had him because I needed extra points, and literally he was expendable. That's what he was. I didn't care about him. He was just there to fill out the profile, and he will just be put into my army now as a normal orc, just with sword and shield, normal Mordor orc. He's rubbish, but it was good fun to paint. Didn't take too long, obviously. Like most Mordor orcs, they don't take too long. And then obviously the blue eyes and the blue hand just to fit him into the Shadow of Mordor, Shadow of War army. you then have this guy, and this is a Ghoul from the Shadow of Mordor, Shadow of War video games, which I am using as Ted Sandyman, purely because he's about the same size. Now, I think this is a Flesh Eater Court model, or 3D print, because it is a 3D print. But yeah, I just used him as a Ted Sandyman. He doesn't have the blue glowing eyes because you don't actually brand these. They have yellow glowing eyes because you can see in the dark, I presume. And this guy is literally contrast paints and dry brushed. It was not a hard model to paint. The hardest part was gluing his leg back on when I dropped him. Quite simply, I broke this guy's leg quite a few times. Dropped him. I think I broke it when I clipped him off the supports. It was an awful model to actually just try and keep together, but it worked, and I'm more than happy with it. I think I broke him out at the tournament as well, so luckily enough I carry super glue. But he fit into my Fantasy Fellowship just in the sense of I needed an easy model that kind of represented somebody in the game, and I went, screw it, Ted Sandyman's a bad guy, and I can get a small model for him. That was literally the reason. Is he going to go into my Barad-dûr list? Not at all. However, he is going to just sit there on my shelf and look pretty as a Ghoul. I might get a couple more, and if I do, then maybe I proxy them as orcs. I don't know. We'll figure that out when we come to it. But it's just a nifty wee thing, something different that I kind of wanted to have. And then here we have Baranor, Captain of Gondor. This is actually Yazneg, if I remember correctly, from what I used him as in the tournament. It's converted from a Faramir model with a Beorning's hand put... the metal Faramir model with a Beorning's hand put on as the bow and an orc quiver, if I remember correctly, and then Beorning's head. This guy comes from Harad, but is actually a Captain of Gondor, if I remember correctly, in the games. And I built him up, used him as Yazneg, and thought that actually this works quite well. It fit together, and actually because I had this Faramir lying around, I had to strip him and everything of his paint. But because I had him sitting around, I could actually do a mounted version as well. And that mounted version is obviously just the exact same model, with a bow put over his back, which I think is a high elf bow from a Last Alliance stuff, and then another orc quiver put just by his side, and another Beorning's head. I've got all these extra parts lying around, so I was like, screw it, I'll use it. Captain Faramir, Captain of Gondor, or Baranor, Captain of Gondor, depending on who you're going to run him as. Obviously, in my Barad-dûr list, I don't know if I'm going to run this guy, but it was just kind of a bit of fun, something slightly different, and it allowed me to try out this string around the bow again, which I am a fan of, but honestly I don't know if it's worth it. As you can see on the foot version, it looks a bit dodgy up the top, but I tried my best, and hey ho, I'll only improve on this modelling stuff if I continue doing it. So yeah, great model to play around with. I didn't use the mounted version in the Fantasy Fellowship because, if I remember correctly, you weren't allowed mounts. So it was just the foot version, but I had them sitting around and I thought I might as well paint them all up at the same time. Just something nice, a bit like Ted Sandyman, to have on my shelf and use at some point. And that is the end of my Fantasy Fellowship. However, I do still have models that I've painted up over the last couple of, I'll say weeks, but last couple of months, that I would like to show off. So I'm going to show them off in this video, just so I can combine, like I say, this tournament vlog and then a hobby vlog all in one. So this guy, who is this? This is the individual Celebrimbor model, again by, I think, Ancient City Games. Same person that did Talion, I can't remember who it was. I think it's Ancient City. I do apologise if it's not. And if somebody would like to know and can't find it, then I can post in the comments who it is. Definitely able to be found on my Manufactory at least, and it comes in a bundle for the Bright Lord, if I remember correctly. The guy's just released a Graug as well, which I thought was pretty sweet. But yes, this guy, I sprayed him white, put some blue contrast paint over him, and dry brushed him white. terribly hard model to do. I don't even think he's tournament legal because he doesn't have 3 colours on him, but his base does. So does that count? I don't know. I'm not planning on taking him to a tournament. I don't know how I'm going to include him in my Barad-dûr army list, but I had him printed by David, so I went, screw it, I'll quite happily paint him. Otherwise he's just sitting around in my pile of shame, pile of potential, whatever you want to call it. That's another video I should do again. But yes, Kellmore, super easy, super nice model. We then get into probably the biggest model that I have for my Shadow of War, Shadow of Mordor army, and this is Ratbag and Ranger. Now, I'm not going to talk about this model much because you can go look at my previous video, which was a Middle-earth collaboration video where we actually made up profiles for these models. And there was a bunch of us, so please go check it out. You can find the playlist and watch everyone's, and it was great fun to do. This guy will be getting it added in one way or another to my Shadow of Mordor, Shadow of War, Barad-dûr list. How yet, I am not certain, but I will make it work. But yeah, I won't talk any more about this. It's just, I finished it. Look, Ratbag is finished. He is definitely finished. That is the Snaga model converted with a different head and a different sword. But definitely finished. Ratbag is finished, as is Ranger. Told you I'd do it. I told you. And then we get into the random stuff that is nothing to do with the Shadow of Mordor stuff. This is not my painting. This was the spot prize that I managed to win at the tournament, so I won't mention anything about the paint job because it's not mine. I won't mention anything about the model or anything, but I just thought I'd show it off to kind of show you what I won. More than happy with him. He can join my Gandai for sure. And then the last of my Dunland models. These two have been painted up for a long time since the rest of my Dunland was done, but their shields hadn't been glued on or painted. So I ordered these shields from the Guardians of Wiltshire 3D printing service. Thank you very much, Dewey Evans, for those. They're absolutely fantastic and they match the rest of my shields now. So glued them on. These are converted Huskarls. I've talked about them before, and this does now mean you can get a Dunland army showcase, no doubt, at some point. But yeah, these models painted up very well. They are going to be the dismounts for my riders of Dunland, and because they now have shields and everything that match them. So yeah, real nice models, real fun to paint. And thank you, Dewey, for those shields to arrive and me to finally paint. That I can now say my Dunland is finished. And then we are going into the last of the stuff that I've painted. This is Helldivers 2 stuff. I've been playing it an awful lot, and I've painted these up for my friends and myself. So fighting on Helmire, of course, because why would you fight anywhere else? And there's a horse there for Darren, who doesn't actually play. But the other 4 models, this one coming around in the oranges from me. We've then got Henry, who is paints on a 3-up, and August, and everyone else is great. Well, there we go, guys. That is another hobby vlog, tournament vlog. Everything kind of all wrapped up into one kind of finally finishing. This video has been obviously a long time in the making. I never intended this to be this long, but one of these things, life happens, life gets in the way. So yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed this God knows how long video. I do apologise, but it's one of these things. What's next for me? I've got a couple of projects that I'm working on. Currently working on some Denizens and Mirkwood stuff for my team tournament that's coming up. I'm painting them for August, or paints on a 9-up, I think. Maybe a 69, I can't remember. There's a joke in there. It's been a long time. I've got some challenge stuff that I'm doing, and then a video from this channel's first sponsor is going to come out. That's something that needs to be talked about more in depth when that video actually is done. But yeah, Kelpie Games, go check them out on Facebook, and well, they've got a Facebook page, and go check them out on the internet. Tell them that Cameron sent you. You'll get some wonderful stuff from them. Great shop. great bunch of people. But let's call it quits there. You've now seen the 9, the Fantasy Fellowship. You've seen my hobby vlog of everything that I've kind of done for the last, let's go with 4 months, 5 months, something like that. Or you might not have even seen it all, but most of it. And that's just life. That's one of these things. And you now have a rough idea of what I'm going to be working on over the next couple of weeks, month. If you want to see everything that I paint, go follow me on Instagram. I post absolutely every model that I paint up on there. I forget to include some of them in here. The Helldivers clip that you've just seen was a bit rushed because I forgot to do that before I handed out the models to my friends. So I took a 30-second video for them and then didn't film anything for this, so I've just had to pull it from our Facebook group chat. So yeah, life sucks. But yeah, go follow me on Instagram for better photos and everything of all the stuff that I actually paint. I'd really appreciate that. And you'll see everything that's been in this video posted there as well. But no, thank you very much for watching. I can't say anything else more than like, comment, subscribe, follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I'm on Threads now as well, which is something that I don't know if I'm ever going to use, but we'll see. I'm using it a little bit just now just to see what it's like. And until next time, thank you all very much for watching. Hopefully you got something painted during this. Take care, and bye-bye.
Thanks very much for watching, guys. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and use my affiliate links in the description below. Take care and bye-bye.